Welcome back to another Madden training video. Today we will be going over the process of replacing wetted end parts in our MF series pumps. What you're looking at here is a quadruplex pump with all four of our available wetted end designs: stainless steel, Teflon, PVC, and polypropylene. Let's go ahead and dive in. We'll start with our stainless steel wetted end. If you are interested in only plastic designs, you can skip ahead to 3 minutes and 4 seconds. The first step is to remove the valve cap screws. Make sure you have something ready to catch the bottom valve assembly, as they will drop once unscrewed. Gary will then quickly replace the more common replacement parts. Things like valve seats, gaskets, and ball cushions are more common. The valve sleeve and end caps are not common replacements. Some important things to note here. Make sure that the valve body sleeve goes back over the valve seat and ball, with the indentation for the ball cushion piece facing up. The white ball cushion piece fits uniformly on the top of the valve body sleeve. Also note that the open side of the valve seats should always face up. We'll have pictures breaking these parts down shortly. And once you have the old parts swapped out for the new parts, fasten the valve cap screws back in place. Make sure to tighten down firmly and, more importantly, evenly. If one is tighter than the other, this could lead to leaks. And here we have a picture of both valve layouts. You can pause the video or visit our website to get a closer look. And now we're on to replacing the diaphragm, or diaphragms if you have a type DDB double diaphragm setup. You can use a ratchet set or an air gun to remove the 6 bolts from the solution head and pump body. Either way will only take you a short amount of time. Once the solution head is removed, simply unscrew the primary diaphragm and then replace it with a new diaphragm. Make sure to tighten and then adjust to line up the bolt holes. To remove the spacer in a double diaphragm setup, simply slide it off. And to remove the secondary diaphragm, unscrew the secondary piston and slide it off as well. Once you've replaced the parts you've needed, fasten the solution head back on and you're all set. You may need to tighten down the solution head's bolts several times over while the new diaphragm breaks in. And next we'll pick up again by showing the valve layouts. And then we'll run through replacing wetted end parts for a plastic wetted end. This process will be very similar to our stainless steel wetted end, so once again, start by removing the screws. This time they're coming out of what we call valve connector flanges. Once unscrewed, be ready for the bottom part of the valve assembly to fall. Gary will then quickly replace the more common wetted end parts that occasionally need to be replaced in our plastic wetted end assemblies. These parts include gaskets, valve seats, and ball cushions. Parts like valve body sleeves and valve connector flanges are not all that common to have to be replaced. Refer back to the valve assembly layout pictures if you need a reminder on what parts I'm referring to. It is important to note that the way the valve body sleeve goes back onto the valve ball and valve seat. Make sure that the indentation for the ball cushion is facing up. The white ball cushion piece fits uniformly in the top indentation part of the valve body sleeve. Also note that the open side of the valve seat should always face up. Once you have your parts switched out, we recommend placing the top valve set back on, including the connector flange, and then holding the bottom valve set in place while you drop the screws back in. This is the easiest way to do it by yourself. When screwing the complete valve assembly back in place, fasten both screws firmly and, more importantly, evenly. If one side is significantly tighter than the other, it may result in leaks. Once again, let's go over replacing the diaphragm. You can use a ratchet set or air gun to remove the 6 bolts from the solution head and pump body. Either way will take a short amount of time. If you've watched both parts of this video, You'll notice here that the plastic solution heads have hex head bolts instead of the socket style bolts. Once the solution head is removed, simply unscrew the primary diaphragm and replace it with a new diaphragm. Make sure to tighten and then adjust to line up the bolt holes. Once you've replaced the parts you've needed, fasten the solution head back on and you're all set. Again, you may need to tighten down the solution head's bolts several times over while the new diaphragm breaks in. I mentioned it earlier, and now let's take a quick look at removing the type DDB setup. First, remove the primary diaphragm and then the spacer. Spacer will simply slide off. And to unscrew the secondary piston, you'll likely need a pair of channel locks. Once this is undone, the secondary diaphragm will come along with it. Prepare for oil to come out at this point, and don't forget to compensate for what you lose here. To reinstall the type DDB double diaphragm setup with new parts, start by twisting on the new secondary diaphragm to the back of the secondary piston. You can snug this up with your hands and remember to line up the bolt holes. And after you've done that, grab your pair of channel locks and tighten it with a couple more turns. The next step will be to slide on the spacer. When you're sliding on the spacer, make sure that the weep hole is facing downward. Then grab your new primary diaphragm and screw that back on as well. Make sure that the bolt holes are lined up all the way through. And finally, reinstall your solution head. And that concludes this walkthrough on replacing wetted end parts in a Madden MF Series pump. Hopefully you see the benefits of our industrial duty metering pump and how quickly and easily they can be repaired. If you have any questions or inquiries, please reach out with a call or an email.